Hello, good evening, and you're very welcome to this latest edition of the Cúilín Media Podcast, our preview show on Thursday evenings. I'm delighted to say I'm joined this evening by Matthew Hurley, the man behind the Gaelic Statsman and Gaelic Games Fan TV's Aaron Prendergast. Seamus Brady is not with us. He might be able to join us later on, but we will just wait and see. Obviously, we're taking a bit of a break from discussing fuel prices and strikes and protests and everything like that because we have GAA action this weekend to look forward to. Matthew, I'll start with yourself. A big weekend for Cork in the Munster Senior Football Championship and the start of the championship campaign. The weather is getting better as well. There's a grand stretch in the evening. I had to say it at some stage. How much are you looking forward to the start of the weekend?
Yeah, a lot of positives, I would say. Like the Cork footballers are going well up to Division 1. We are favourites going to this weekend against Limerick. The weather's nice. Obviously, the evenings are lengthening. Literally, the only negative is what you mentioned at the start of the show with these fuel prices and things going on around the country in terms of the main headlines, I would say. And down here in Cork, actually, there was Rebel Oak games, their underage games in Cork, under 18 downwards. They were all called off tonight because of the panic, literally. So yeah, there is a chance that Cork and Limerick might be pulled on Sunday. We have to take that into account, but we will see what happens. Obviously, we can't tell the future and things like that, but maybe the problem will be fixed by tomorrow afternoon or sometime. We will see, obviously, but obviously it is great to take a break from talking about that, and we will talk about the games that we hope will go ahead this weekend, and hopefully the championship will start without any worries or anything like that.
Absolutely. So, Aaron, I suppose, how are things up in Dublin with everything else, I suppose?
Yeah, same as Matthew said, really. Yeah, it's a bit of an unusual time going on and everything else. But yeah, like obviously not, thankfully enough, like where I work and everything else isn't in the city centre, and I haven't really had to go near town and everything else. So it's been, I've kind of avoided it and everything else. But yeah, like obviously, we're just looking forward to the games, to be honest. This weekend, like obviously there's probably one game I think most people are hugely looking forward to, and that's Armagh Tyrone. Like I think a lot of the games, I know obviously Matthew will be looking forward to watching Cork, but I think we would say like that game is going to be fairly straightforward. Obviously some big games in the Camogie as well, and we'll get on to that. A couple of the early rounds in the Christy ring and the Nickey Rackard, and obviously LGFA, a few LGFA games on as well. But yeah, no, looking forward to cracking into it, lads.
Absolutely. So we've a heap of comments coming in. Much appreciate everyone who's left their thoughts in the comments below. Brendan Kennelly saying, my favorite time of the year. Forget the birthdays, Christmas overrated, Easter, what's that? Championship season is the most glorious time of the year. Peter Griffin, a staunch supporter of the channel. Well, lads, how's the form? Well done to you on a great Champo predictions video from the studio. Thanks very much. Hopefully our predictions, most of our predictions come true anyway. Peter also saying, I see Fento's gone on the dark side, new Sunday game pundit. I suppose, Aaron, as a dub, seeing Brian Fenton, he's not going to be back on the pitch. He's going to be in the studio this season, given his thoughts regarding football this year. He's spoken relatively well over the last number of years. He comes across, as very well spoken when he's done interview and everything like that. Good addition to the Sunday game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of funny. Actually, I was out for a run yesterday and I actually ran past him. But funnily enough, it was with his dog. Do you want to see the size of his dog, lads? Fucking hell. He's a big boy, to be fair. But yeah, it was a little bit interesting kind of seeing that. And then obviously, yeah, seeing the news and everything else. Look, I think to be fair, I've listened to him in interviews and stuff. And he is very well spoken. He definitely isn't one of them people that, like, he's not afraid to kind of voice his opinion and give his opinion and everything else. So I think he'd be a great addition. I think, to be fair, I think RTE probably has needed to spruce up its pundits and everything else. It's obviously tried a few different things out over the last couple of years. I think it's great to have Brian Fenton on board. It probably will be a little bit unusual if we're watching Dublin games and then we're seeing him on the sidelines and everything else, when it comes to Dublin playing in Croke Park, which hopefully we will get to do at some stage this season in the championship. I think it's a great addition, yeah.
Absolutely. So we have one comment here from Ryan Gallagher. Good to see you again, Ryan. Leinster Championship semi-finals out of Croke Park again. So obviously, for those who might not know, the Leinster Senior Football Championship semi-finals this year are going to be played in O'Moore Park in Portlaoise and O'Connor Park in Tullamore. Obviously, last year, both games were played in O'Connor Park and O'Moore Park as well, between Meath and Dublin and Kildare and Louth. And has to say, I know the result didn't go your way, Aaron, but there were two cracking games of football, really enjoyable. Matthew, seeing that the 2 games are outside of Croke Park, the move was made last year, and a lot of people, there was good attendances at both games in the semi-finals. You probably expect the same again this year. Positive move from Leinster GAA?
Absolutely, really positive move, I would say. Look at the games last year, like Kildare and Louth had an exciting ending to the game. People may forget that, but obviously Kildare could have won it at the end, but Louth got over the line. And then the Meath and Dublin game down in Portlaoise was absolutely superb in terms of atmosphere. And I think it was the best thing to happen to the Leinster Championship in bringing these to neutral venues and things like that. I know a lot of people would have wanted, the traditionalists in many ways would have wanted the Leinster semi-finals up in Croke Park. Like they remember days where Dublin played against Laois and things like that. And I remember Dublin and Laois in 2014, and I think Laois lost by double digits. And a lot of people were saying that was a good performance by Laois. We don't kind of want days like that. We want the shocks around these provincial grounds. And like what we got last year was an absolute treat. Meath and Kildare, I think, will be an absolute cracker if it does go that way. And then Louth against Dublin. Apparently, it's going to be Portlaoise, not in Newbridge, which is a bit of a shock, I suppose, with both of them going down to Portlaoise. But yeah, it should be an absolutely excellent day out of Leinster Championship football. And I think the Leinster Championship, I think Seamus mentioned in the predictions video as well, this is probably the most anticipated Leinster Championship that we've had in years as well. So, and Daddy's adding to it in terms of the provincial grounds.
Absolutely, it is. We have a comment in here from Daniel saying, who's your favourites for each province? Well, if you want to see who all of our favourites are, you can stay tuned across the week on our Cúilín media, social media platforms on Instagram and TikTok for all of our videos. Matthew's and Seamus's videos have gone out earlier today, as well as checking out the video that we put out yesterday of our football championship predictions. We'll have our Camogie, LGFA and hurling prediction videos all coming up very, very soon. Some of us have great predictions. Some of us are going to look very silly in a couple of months' time, probably me mostly, to be honest with you. But we will move on anyways. Peter also saying Fento comes across very, very sound. And Ryan, maybe a home semi-final for Offaly. We'll see. We'll see about that. But we're going to move on, lads, and we're going to look forward to the games this weekend. And like you mentioned there, Aaron, the one game that's going to be taking a lot of people's attention come this Sunday is the clash between Armagh and Tyrone in the preliminary round of the Ulster Senior Football Championship. I mean, you have 2 teams here who met each other last season in an Ulster semi-final, and Armagh snatched it at the death. Tyrone ended up being in an All-Ireland semi-final, actually getting further than Armagh did in the end. Armagh losing the Ulster final to Donegal in the end. But what a way to kick off, not just the Sunday game for the season, but what a way to kick off the Ulster Championship.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an absolute cracker of a game. And I think that is the magic of the Ulster Football Championship. There is, I know the other championships are maybe catching up a little bit, but the Ulster Football Championship is so competitive. You know, there is 4 or 5 teams that believe they have a chance of winning that, obviously at the start of the year, start of the season and everything else. Look, when this draw was made originally, I think everyone anticipated this would be an absolute cracker between both teams. Potentially 2 Division 1 teams and everything else. Maybe a lot of people anticipating that Tyrone would go and get promoted up to Division 1. Both teams probably didn't have great leagues, but I think Armagh's performances were a lot better than what the table suggested. And I think for Tyrone as well, it's been a little bit unusual, their performances throughout the league. Just 2 wins against both Offaly and Cavan. It hasn't really clicked for Tyrone. They've been very flat, I think, in a lot of their performances. But do you know what it is? Like, in a rivalry and in big games like this, like, there is that thing of form going out the window a little bit. And it would be the most vintage Tyrone thing ever to turn up to this game and turn Armagh over or put in a big performance or everything like that, because Tyrone have done it so many times down the years where they've turned up to these type of games and kind of upset the party a little bit. And I do think we'll see something from Tyrone this weekend. Like, I still think Armagh will win the game, but I do think Tyrone will show something this weekend, because I feel like they kind of have to be honest, for their supporters, for their fans, and to show that they haven't gone away. Like, they haven't become a bad team overnight. Like, as we were saying there, All-Ireland semi-finalists last year, back-to-back under-20 All-Ireland football champions. Like, there is good players in Tyrone, the young players and everything else. I think Malika O'Rourke just needs to settle on like a starting 15 and kind of stick with it rather than chopping and changing the team. And maybe place a bit more emphasis on the younger players and actually start them and play them from the beginning. And I think Tyrone can cause problems, because, look, Armagh will be big favourites, and obviously playing in the Athletic grounds, they will have the vast majority of the support. It will be a tough game for Tyrone, but, you know, they do have the capability to go there and put in a game, I think.
They absolutely do. And like he was mentioning there, Matthew, you look at Tyrone and Armagh's league campaigns, we all expected Tyrone to go straight back up, and they ended up having, if we're going to be very honest about it, a very disappointing league campaign by their standards, and losing the games that they would have probably been looking at the start of the season as the real, nail-biting games, the Derrys, even the Corks at home, etc., Meath. Losing these games definitely would not have been helping their case going into the championship. Whereas you look at Armagh, okay, they didn't get some of the results that they would have liked, but the performances certainly were there, and the work rate and the heart was still there. Armagh are sort of like in a phase that like Clare were, both winning the All-Ireland in 2024, but then supposedly going out disappointingly last year in 2025 and then having the league campaign this year. What can we expect from Armagh this weekend? Could they really put down a nail-biter this year? Can they really put down a statement this weekend? Because I know you've tipped them to win the All-Ireland in the end. What can we expect from on Sunday?
To be fair, just on that All-Ireland prediction, worth noting, lads, that was before the Donegal and Kerry game. So, yeah.
Disclaimer.
But to be fair, like I still see Armagh as a very, very good team. I kind of have to stick to the All-Ireland prediction now, but like when you look at their performances this year, they haven't been bad at all. They've been very unlucky in league games, and when you look at the championship last year, I kind of disagree with your point on them going out disappointingly last year, because in the championship I thought they were very, very competitive, and for most of the game against Kerry in the quarterfinal, they were very, very good. They were compact. And then the third quarter happens where every kick out that Ethan Rafferty takes, it goes straight down the throat of Kerry midfielders, and they just couldn't get a grip on the game at all. And eventually, Kerry just stretched out the lead to finish out the game. But I do think Armagh have some really key performers. The likes of Ross McQuillan and Jardy O'Burns at wing back. In midfield, you have Ben Creedy there. You also have Callum O'Neill, who I'm really impressed with. Up front, Conor Turbott's an absolutely brilliant player. You have others in and around the area as well from an Armagh point of view. Obviously, Oisin Conti is a very good player and will be capable of lighting up the championship, which he has done over the last few seasons. He's won 2 All-Stars in a row, obviously. But then you have the added, probably unknown, of Rian O'Neill. Now, the team hasn't been announced as of yet. I don't know, is Rian going to be announced in the Armagh team? Or even better from a fan's point of view, is he going to be named on the day and named to start or be benched or whatever? It's going to be exciting if he does come in, Rian O'Neill, for the championship. It will get the championship off to a bang. And I do think he's going to be absolutely massive if Armagh bring him back in. And Aaron McKay is back from injury as well. So I think Armagh, they're bringing back these players potentially. And they have players that perform well in the league as well. I still think they're one of the top 3 teams in the country alongside Donegal and Kerry. They're well capable of beating Kerry. Donegal, there is still question marks whether they'll win Ulster for 3 years in a row. I don't think any Donegal team has ever won 3 in a row. Like a Jimmy team has never won 3 in a row, obviously, with them losing their arm to Monaghan in 2013. Donegal themselves lost to Cavan in 2020 as well. They had major opportunities to do 3 in a row, and they just didn't. And I feel like the next in line in Ulster is Armagh, and they haven't won an Ulster title since 2008, so the want will be there with them. So, yeah, I think Armagh are certainly an All-Ireland contender. They're certainly one of the Ulster favourites as well. And then you look at Tyrone, like, it's a weird one. They beat Offaly and Cavan, which they probably were expected to do in the league. They drew against the Kildare team at home that subsequently struggled in the league after that. Like, Kildare only got 3 points. They only got 2 extra points after that. And we were saying, like, after that Tyrone-Kildare game, naturally, that Kildare were performing well and the young players are really embedded. But we didn't look at the fact that Tyrone were really, really struggling. Like, I did watch that game against Cork. I was at the game, and just the vibe around the ground from a Tyrone point of view wasn't good at all. Owen McElhone came on and added a bit of spark in that Cork game. But there was just a lack of edge, I would say, with Tyrone, from the stands, from the pitch as well. And they didn't seem to be... I know it's dangerous kind of saying this, but they didn't look like they were playing for Malachy O'Rourke, and that probably needs to change when you look at, as Aaron said, the youngsters coming through. They've won under-20 titles. They're not going so well in the under-20 this year. They've lost 2 games to Armagh, and they lost another game as well in the Ulster under-20 Championship, so they're not going well there, other than Shane McDermott, who's doing brilliant. But they need to play the younger players, and they need to excel now if Tyrone are to have any chance in the next few years of building a bit of success. But But yeah, I can see only one result this weekend, considering they're at home, considering they're Division 1 side. I think Armagh will win this game. And I think if Armagh play to their full potential, I think they could win this pretty comfortably.
Yeah, they potentially could. We have one question in here. I'm sorry, Matthew. I'll have to get your thoughts on it. Cork drawing with Clare under 20 just now. Were you watching the game? Were you keeping up to date with it, or?
I was, yeah, off Scorpio there, off the end. And no, to be honest, yeah. Look, thank God our seniors are doing well, but no, that's not a good result for the under 20s. I know it's in Quilty, but it's not a good result. And to be honest, like Dara Sheedy was playing tonight, and he's the star boy of Cork at this present moment in time, an absolutely excellent footballer. But without him in the team, we don't look good at underage, and that's just the frank reality of it. And look, that's just the way it is.
Welcome to the club.
Fair enough. Aaron, Matthew's gone with Armagh to win this weekend. Are you following in the same boat?
Yeah, I do think so. I do think it'll be a closer game. I think maybe like a 3 to kind of 4 point win. I do agree with Matthew a little bit though. Like if Armagh are fully at it and Tyrone have played how they played in the league, like yeah, this could be an absolute beating. To be honest with you, but I think Tyrone will turn up. I think they have to show something to take going into, like, even if they lose the game narrowly, at least they can take a bit of confidence going into obviously the new format and everything else. But yeah, I am going to go for Armagh to get over the line.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you. I'm going to go with Armagh as well. I just don't think Tyrone are fully at the races at the moment, which is a dangerous thing to say considering league is league and championship is championship, as we've all heard before and we'll hear until the end of time. But Armagh looked very, very good, in my opinion, in Division 1, despite some of the negative results. And especially coming back from the deficit that they did against Kerry in the league, told me everything that you need to know about this Kieran McGeeney team, that they will fight to the end. And like Matthew said there at the moment, even watching them against us, to be honest with you, Matthew, I completely agree. They didn't look great against us either, and they looked a bit disjointed at times. And it took really Matty Donnelly in the second half to kick a bit of life into them. But we shall wait and see. Anyways, this weekend, we have a full house going for Armagh. Do you all agree in the comments? Let us know as we go along. We're going to move on next to the Leinster Championship, or the Munster Championship, I should say, with a big game coming up this weekend with Limerick taking on Cork. Matthew, as a Cork man, promoted to Division 1, narrowly beaten in the Division 2 final. Big wins this season already over the likes of Meath during the league campaign. A big win over Tyrone as well. Things are looking positive. Like you mentioned there, thank God our senior footballers are doing well at the moment. And having home advantage as well for this weekend, an added bonus too, going up against a Limerick team that suffered relegation from Division 3. Probably should expect to win this game this weekend.
Probably should, yeah. And to be fair, like John Hayes wrote his column at the Southern Star this week, and I'd actually agree with him on this point. If it's not a comfortable Cork win, anything but that, it'll be a shock. That's no disrespect, obviously, to Limerick. They did well to reach the Tailteann Cup final last year, but I just feel like this Cork team have more consistency in them. Obviously, there's more confidence with them at this present moment in time as well. Limerick, obviously, they did beat Fermanagh in the last game of Division 3, but they did go down to Division 4, which was a dampener for them. Obviously, they have good players, the likes of Cúilín Fahy in their ranks. I think Eloy, I think that's how you pronounce his first name, Eloy or Reardon. He's absolutely a brilliant player from wing back. He scores a lot of 2-pointers from frees in particular. James Naughton is a very good player from a Limerick point of view as well. They are missing Ian Corbett though. He's kind of their beating. He was their beating heart over the last few seasons. He was probably their most consistent player, and he retired in the off season. That was a big loss for them. But yeah, Jimmy Lee, he's doing a decent job at Limerick, but it just doesn't seem to be gelling this season from a Limerick point of view. And yeah, Cork looked pretty good in fairness. And I'd probably expect the same team that played against Meath to come out and play in this game. Other than obviously Dara Sheedy, but John Cleary said they'll look at his fitness after the under-20 game tonight and see if he's available for Sunday. But even if you don't have Dara, you have Brian Hurley on the bench, you have David Buckley, and these sort of guys. So they're well capable of coming in and providing a service in many ways. And yeah, Cork look pretty good. And the fact is as well, Cork are Division 1, Limerick are Division 4 in 2027, and as well as that, Cork are at home. So all of those signs point to a Cork victory, and it probably should be comfortable as well. This is probably a different challenge for Cork in many ways. Like at Division 2, it was tight games. getting over the line. It was brilliant to get promoted, and the players absolutely deserved to celebrate and things like that as well. And they competed well in that Division 2 final against Meath. But this is a different challenge now for this Cork team. They're raging hot favourites. And without that's the greatest respect, obviously, not to dismantle Limerick or anything like that. But Cork are the raging hot favourites in this one. It is a chance for them to overcome that. I think they will this weekend. I think they will get over the line and eventually get to a Munster semi-final.
Yeah, I'd have to say I'd probably agree with you, to be honest with you. Even looking at Cork and Limerick last year, when Limerick were in much better form going into the championship game, and Cork still wrapped up to, the Gaelic grounds and won fairly convincingly in the end. I don't expect it to be that much different this weekend, especially when you look at the firepower that you have there, like you mentioned there. I mean, he doesn't play. You have Brian Hurley to come on. It's not exactly the worst replacement in the world. Stephen Sherlock's back in there this year. Mark Crone, for me, has been probably your most consistent performer this year in the forward line. He's been absolutely excellent. You've Chris Oak-Jones. I mean, Aaron, without being funny, it could be a very, very long afternoon for the Limerick backline, and especially when they're relying on Naughton as well. I mean, it could be a very, very tough afternoon for them.
Yeah, I think it will, to be honest. Like in previous years, like for a couple of years there, you were kind of looking at Limerick and thinking, they can lay a glove on Cork. They could probably upset them a little bit. Even in those seasons, Cork still came through. I know there were a few games where it was a little bit shaky, but generally speaking, Cork still won those games anyway. And that was maybe when Limerick were, kind of coming up to being a Division 2 team, and Cork were kind of mid-table Division 2. But now, the tables have turned completely. And you feel like if Cork are on it, and Limerick have shown what they showed throughout the league, like it could be 15, probably even 20 points, to be honest. Like it could be a really big win. Like there is a part of me that thinks Cork probably won't be at full tilt. Maybe with the fact that they will probably be saving the best version of themselves for... I know they will still have to play a Munster semi-final as well, but you'd imagine against Tipperary or Waterford, like they come through that game. So I think they will be saving the best version of themselves for Kerry and for what potentially comes after that. But yeah, I think they are far too strong. And I think for Limerick, it will just be about damage limitation, really.
Absolutely so. So we have another full house. We're going well here at the moment. We'll see if this continues on, but we are going to move on to the next game that's taking place in Munster. Like you said, the winners of Cork and Limerick will have a trip against Tipperary or Waterford in the semi-finals. I think it goes without saying Cork and Kerry are the outright favourites to get to the Munster final this year, and it's no disrespect to any of the rest of the teams here. But looking at this game, Aaron, I'll come back to you on this. Tipperary-Waterford, you'd expect Tipperary to probably win this game. There was a poor enough attendance when these two sides met in the league campaign. Hopefully, with the weather being better and everything, and Tipperary looking a small bit better at football now than they did over the last couple of years, you might get a decent crowd into Semple Stadium for it, but it probably should again be a one-sided affair. You should probably expect Tipperary to win this game. Or Fraherfield, beg your pardon. Sorry, my apologies.
Yeah. No, you would expect Tipperary to win this game. To be honest, like I think with Waterford, it's kind of an unfortunate one with Waterford. Like I think you've got you've got Division 1, 2, 3, and 4, but there's probably a gap between the Division 4 teams and Waterford. Like if we are being honest, like they are competitive. Like they were competitive in a good few of their Division 4 games. I think the last game they won in the championship as well, I think might have been against Tipperary in Munster, like a good couple of years ago. It is two teams that always seem to play each other in the Munster Football Championship as well for whatever reason. But yeah, like I think Tipperary beat them very convincingly towards the end of the league. That was obviously the last game the both of these two would have played. Yeah, I think Tipperary should be far too strong here.
Yeah, I'd expect so. Matthew, do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. To be fair, like Tipperary do have some good players, the likes of Cian Smith and Sean O'Connor up in the forwards there, and Stephen O'Brien around the middle of the park. And Tipperary are probably a better side than what they showed in Division 4. I think they have a lot of exciting players there. And I think they will beat Waterford this weekend. Like there is a gap between everybody in Division 4, everybody in the entire country to Waterford, let's be honest. Like I think I've seen it off the ball power rankings that they put Leitrim at 31. And to be honest, in my honest opinion, I think Leitrim are miles ahead of Waterford. That's not a good sign for Waterford football. Having said that though, the Waterford under-20s did beat Tipperary in the Munster Championship and they went into phase 2. So that is a positive for Waterford football in terms of garnering some young players in particular. But yeah, I can see nothing other than a Tipperary win. I know Waterford did beat Tipperary in their last championship game in Fraherfield against them 2 years ago. But to put it into context, I don't think Tom O'Connell is available for this game. I think Tom O'Connell has actually jumped ship to the hurlers, and he was the guy who scored 2 goals famously in that day in Fraherfield. So he's not going to be there. So that just pointed even more towards Tipperary to win this game. And I think it'll be fairly comfortable for Tip.
Absolutely. So, and with Brendan here mentioning Waterford getting hammered by the Kerry under-20s tonight. I mean, look, it's no real shock really hearing that, to be honest with you. Kerry beating Waterford at most levels in football, to be honest with you, on the men's side. But we're going to move on from the Munster Championship. We're going to go on to the Connacht Championship next. And the first game we're going to look at is London versus Mayo. Again, probably a game that you'd expect Mayo to win rather comfortably. But I will say one thing, Matthew, to be fair to London, they did get 3 wins, like you mentioned there. There's a big gap between, say, Waterford and the rest of the teams, you would say, in Division 4. And London would certainly be one of those teams. They picked up 3 wins out of 7 in Division 4. They ended up with 7 points. I mean, they weren't too far off getting themselves a place up into Division 3 as well. Look, you'd expect Mayo to win this game. They had a positive league campaign, got some great wins along the way too. Andy Moran seems to be really building something there, especially with some of the younger players that they have, as well as the more experienced players as well. They're kicking 2-pointers for once, which hopefully they'll continue that consistency throughout the championship as well. But again, probably should be a comfortable enough victory for Mayo this weekend. I think we've lost Matthew. Aaron, I'll go to you with this one.
Yeah, it should be, to be fair. Like even Mayo, they're without Kobe McDonald and Dar Byrne for this game. The 2 of them, Kobe and Dar Byrne, are out for Mayo. They're playing they played with the under-20s this weekend. I don't think Andy Moran is going to play them this weekend. So that's probably a bit of respite for London. But having said that, though, I think Mayo still have Cian McHale available. They obviously still have Ryan O'Donoghue available. Jordan Flynn, who was absolutely excellent during the league as well. It's not a blight on London. I think London have done well in Division 4 and they have home advantage, which is always a difficult task, I'd imagine, and difficult to, with the flying and things like that from a Mayo point of view. There is jet lag and things like that. But no, I think Mayo should be comfortable enough in winning this game. And it's on GAA Plus, an opportunity for the likes of Ryan O'Donoghue to strut his stuff and show the country what he is made of. So yeah, I think Mayo should win this pretty comfortably. And like London need the perfect performance to even come close to Mayo. The likes of Shea Rafter, the likes of Joe McGill, these sorts of players, they really need to show their form that they have done, to be fair to them, during the league. But no, I can see no other results but Mayo win here.
Yeah, I'd probably echo that. And as well as the London Mayo game, this game, New York and Roscommon, which is taking place on Sunday, is probably going to be a similar type of scenario, only being Roscommon defeating New York here. Aaron, I mean, it's a great trip over for them to get over to the Big Apple, but you probably can't see anything but a Roscommon win here. And especially, I'd say Roscommon, more so than even just getting the win here, I'd say they'll want to put out a bit of a statement as well after the league campaign that they had. A lot of people getting a bit of hype around them as well. Obviously, surviving Division 1, which is a big, big boost to them. You can imagine Roscommon want to put up a big scoreline here at Gaelic Park.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was the last time Roscommon played in New York, that game that they nearly actually got beat, I think, potentially. Or did they play once? Because I think they were supposed to go there during COVID and then it didn't happen, I think, wasn't it? Or something like that. But yeah, so like I think even I know like the team has kind of changed kind of a little bit since then, obviously, and management has changed. But but I think for that reason they won't want to, they won't want to take any chances or risks or anything like that. It is interesting with New York. Like I have seen there isn't as many players involved with New York this time around. Obviously, with everything that's kind of happening in the world at the moment, we obviously won't get into that in too much details. But I think it is going to be a lot more homegrown players from what I've heard, and there isn't going to be too many kind of big names or anything like that. So yeah, kind of hoping that it's not too big of a beating, to be honest, because again, a bit like Mayo London, like you could see this being 20 plus, possibly even more, to be honest. This could be a real whitewash of a result and everything else. And look, like I think obviously with New York, I know there is question marks over finances and everything else in terms of them. I've seen an article about them maybe not being potentially involved in the championship kind of in future seasons. Look, I think we all hope that New York are involved. I think it's a great thing we do in Gaelic football. I think it's great to have the game in Gaelic Park. It's great for supporters and fans. And look, obviously there will be plenty of people from Roscommon who are living in New York, and that's obviously a great opportunity for them it's great for the players and it's great exposure. So, you know, regardless of how New York are involved, whether it is Connacht or even putting them into another championship, like I think you have to get them involved and keep them involved, and even probably even make them more involved would be my thinking if you could, in an ideal world. But yeah, look, I think we would all imagine Roscommon will win the game. But again, will it be the best version of Roscommon? Probably not, because we all know that most likely they will play Mayo in the semis.
Absolutely. So we have a lot of people who are agreeing with our predictions anyways for the moment. Might change in a while. We'll have to wait and see. Peter's and Rossi's and Cork have the biggest winning margins this weekend. Great confidence there from Peter's behalf. Anyways, Ryan predicting Roscommon to win comfortably enough New York, as is Gaelic Guy 24. The next game that we're going to be looking at in the Connacht Championship is Sligo versus Leitrim. You'll be hoping, Matthew, that this game won't be as maybe one-sided as we probably expect London Mayo or New York Roscommon to be. But having said that, Sligo here, they didn't have a great league campaign. They had a disappointing league campaign last year. A lot of people probably, especially after some of their underage success that they had over the last couple of years, probably expected them to kick on by now at this stage. They did get close to beating Mayo last year in the championship. I can remember in the Connacht championship was only 3 points in the end. But again, Sligo will want to go out this weekend and try and put out some bit of a statement to try and show that if there is going to be a team that could upset, you know, the three big dogs in Connacht, then it is them.
Yeah, it's an interesting game at Sligo Leitrim. Just on New York, I wanted to mention as well, they do have Jack Savage, a former All-Ireland champion from Kerry. Yeah. So that is a big coup for them, to be fair. Best of luck as well from a car point of view to Sean Wilson from Douglas. He's there as well. And to be fair, Cian O'Dea from Clare is a good player. Michael Argy from Cavan. So they do have decent-ish players in the lineup for New York, but yeah, Roscommon should win that game. On to Sligo Leitrim. I think Sligo should win it. Leitrim doesn't seem to be in the right frame of mind, I would say, under Stephen Poacher. Things don't seem to be looking good there. You've Ryan O'Rourke, you've Reardon O'Rourke, you have these sorts of players, obviously Paul Honeyman as well from the under-20s, but Sligo, you'd have to imagine with the quality that they have, the Niall Murphys, the Pat Spillane Juniors, like these sorts of players, they really have to step up for Sligo, and they do have the potential for the under-20s as well, the likes of the Dagnans and Shane and Lee as well. Like Cian Lally did well during the league. Like if Sligo have any ambitions of doing well, particularly in the Tailteann Cup, which I think Sligo have serious potential of winning, in all honesty, I do think they have a very good side there. They have to be winning this game, and I think they will at the weekend. I think they will win it fairly comfortably as well. I'd expect 10 plus to Sligo, I'd say.
Aaron, would you agree?
Yeah, I think we're in agreement a lot here, to be fair. Maybe we might disagree when it comes to the Leinster games, but yeah, no, you would have to back Sligo, I think. Again, like a couple of years ago, this game would have been competitive and everything else, but Sligo have kicked on since then, even though they may have slightly regressed over the last kind of 1 or 2 years, and the underage hasn't quite maybe kicked on as of yet, but Leitrim just do seem in free fall, to be honest with you, and their away form has been really, really poor throughout the league. So yeah, I'd fancy Sligo to go and win the game.
Yeah, we're doing very well with the agreements. It doesn't seem like a normal Cúilín media episode anyways, but like you said, we'll move on to the Leinster Championship, and this is where the real fun is going to begin for all of us now to see if we're going to agree, so stay tuned, folks. The first game we're going to look at is the Midlands clash between Offaly versus Laois, which is taking place in O'Connor Park this Saturday evening. Ironically, I may be known as the Faithful Podcast, but I will be Mr. Arsenal guy. Hopefully, if I can get to the airport Saturday morning, I'll be at Arsenal Bournemouth on Saturday, so I won't be able to see this game. But looking at this game, Aaron, I'll go to you first as the Leinster man. I feel like with a fit squad, you'd probably expect Offaly to maybe win this game if they had their fully fit squad. But given how they performed in the league, players that they probably still have out injured, and I don't expect, the large majority of injured players that we have to be back for this game this weekend. Laois, they got the bad beating against Wexford. They responded very well after that. Narrowly beaten by Clare. They were in the final anyway, but they went a bet down in their final game. Destroyed Westmeath at home, which a lot of people didn't expect. This has the makings of a very, very close encounter. And, especially with it being in O'Connor Park as well, Laois, won't be worried about going to O'Connor Park and that. They've played here plenty of times before. You can be as harsh as you want. How do you see this one going?
Yeah, it's kind of a hard one to know. Like, I think in my original predictions, I backed Offaly to win this game. And it's kind of like the one prediction that I nearly wouldn't mind changing because of the injuries and everything else. And given the fact that, look, Laois are coming in with a little bit more confidence. They obviously did go and beat Down on the final day. I know Down were already promoted, but it has been an up and down campaign for Laois. Like they have had some very big results, but also some quite heavy defeats. Like they lost to Wexford, I think by 15 points in the league. They have had some kind of unusual results. They drew at Limerick, who were relegated. So it has been a little bit unusual. Look, with Offaly, and especially for Mickey Hart and Declan Kelly, like you would expect, even with the current players that are there, that they will show something just to kind of take with them into the Tailteann Cup. I know, look, if they win the game, they obviously go and they play Kildare, I think, in the next game, which look will be tough. But you know, like it's mad what a win can do with a bit of confidence. Like if Offaly go and beat Laois, they could then go and give Kildare a bit of a performance. A Kildare team that are also struggling and will also obviously be in the same division as them next season as an example. So I am going to go with Offaly. I think I'll stick with Offaly. I think narrowly, to be honest, ever so slightly. But yeah, I think this could be a game that could potentially go to extra time and possibly even beyond that.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, speaking from an Offaly perspective, I absolutely want to sit here and say that we're going to win this game comfortably and it's going to be a nice Saturday evening stroll in O'Connor Park. But if I was a neutral, I nearly would be favouring Laois to probably win this game at the moment, just given a lot of our injuries at the moment, given how we did play in the league. I mean, look, you know, without trying to be too negative or anything like that, we didn't look great, especially when we conceded the first goal against Meath. I know that was a dead rubber for us, and Meath were actually chasing something on the day, but against Derry, you know, performances against Kildare away from, you know, in St. Conan's Park, there just wasn't a lot that gave me a lot of hope going into this season's Leinster Championship anyways. And look, the same could be said for Laois. You know, you could look at the Down game and say Down were on the beach. That game didn't matter to them. If it mattered, they wouldn't have beaten them. And maybe you could say they caught Westmeath on a bad day, potentially. You never know. But it is definitely a hard one to call. I feel like my heart is telling me Offaly will win. It feels like my head is telling me Laois will win this. I actually do agree with Darren. I think this will go to extra time. And I'm probably going to be sitting in Stansted Airport with having a mini stroke, to be honest with you, keeping up with it on Scorpio. But I'm going to edge it to us just out of probably biasry, to be honest with you. And, you know, just hope more than anything. Maybe we'll win it by a point. I can see Peter asking, is Jack Bryant back? From what I've heard, I don't think he is. We do have Shane Tierney back, which is a big plus, but to my knowledge, I don't think Jack Bryant is back. Matthew, Offaly, Laois, obviously big rivals over the years. Laois did beat Offaly last year by 2 points in Conless Park, which coincidentally, it kept Laois in the championship. Okay, they went out the next round, but it sent Offaly into second place, and you know, it sent them into a side of the draw that they ended up playing Kildare in a quarter final, and potentially stopped them from going further in the Tailteann Cup. So they have had the one up on Offaly last year. Do you see a repeat?
No, I think Offaly will win this game, and I think the thing is, like, Offaly, they seem very reliant on the likes of Keith O'Neill during the league. But then you have Dylan Hyland back in the team. I know Jack Bryan may not be there, but to be fair, Dylan Hyland is a brilliant player to introduce back into the team. But you look at Laois, and I looked at their scores, and yes, like, there was a lot of top scorers in Division 3 from Down and Clare in particular, the likes of Mark McInerney and Pat Avern and Caleb Doherty and all these sorts of lads. And the one kind of outlier in the Division 3 scoring charts was Evan O'Carroll of Laois. And I looked at Laois's scores. He scored literally everything from Laois, other than Paul Kingston, who's a very experienced player for them. But like, if you keep relying on one particular player who has done it for many years, Evan O'Carroll, I have to say he's been an absolutely excellent footballer for the O'Moore County. But if you keep relying on that kind of score, you're going to get caught sooner rather than later. I think Offaly have more of a variety. I think that'll be enough to get them over the line in this game as well. Yeah, I think Offaly will win this game. I think it will be inside normal time as well. I think they will have enough to beat Laois. And last year was a bit weird, Laois beating Offaly. I found it, I don't know, just a bit of a weird result. Maybe Offaly took their foot off the gas or something like that. But yeah, I think Offaly will get over the line eventually in this.
Well, I wish I had your confidence anyways. We'll see come Saturday evening. The next thing we're going to look at in the Leinster Championship is the clash between Westmeath and Longford in Pearse Park. That's thrown in at 3 p.m. on Sunday. Matthew, I'll go back to you with this one. For Westmeath, I mean, after that goal that they conceded in the last minute against Wexford to stop them going up to Division 2, you'd feel like Mark McHugh will be itching to just get his side back onto the pitch and getting back to trying winning games. Because last year, their problem with Diarmuid McCabe was not seeing out games, was not winning games that they were competing very well in. They've sort of eradicated that this year to a degree, albeit last year they were in Division 2, this year they're in Division 3. And they did end up losing the one big important game that they did have this year against Wexford. But coming up against Longford this weekend, not going to be an easy task. Westmeath teams, I was speaking to Jerry Buckley last week with Midlands 1-3 commentator, and he said himself he's seen better Westmeath teams go up to Longford against worse Longford teams and struggle. Never an easy place to go, Pearse Park, but Westmeath, especially after that defeat against Wexford, they'll be surely chomping at the bit.
They have to be. Like, I think all of us predicted Westmeath to win the Tailteann Cup as well. Like, they are a very, very good side when you look at it on paper. But you look at the logistics of this game. The game's on in Pearse Park. Longford are a notoriously tough team to break down there. They haven't proved it over the last few years, but Mike Solon has added something in this Longford team, and they've added a bit of firepower with the likes of Matthew Carey up front, with the likes of Dylan Farrell and Owen Kenny and these sorts of players. And they will make it difficult for Westmeath. There's no doubt about it. I expect this game to be very, very tight. And this is the sort of game that Westmeath would sort of lose in Leinster. Like, they've gone to Auckland before and lost to Wicklow, just randomly. So, I there's a part of me actually saying, weirdly, I know I said Westmeath will win the Tailteann Cup, but there's a part of me saying Longford could nick it. Because of their form at this present moment in time in Division, obviously getting to the Division 4 final, taking Carlo's extra time with Carlo were so impressive at Division 4 throughout the whole season. The fact they're at home, the fact that Mike Solan's got a bit of a tune out of these players, and Longford are a very, very difficult team to break down. Like, Westmeath will find it very difficult. I know they have star quality, and that might be enough to get them over the line at the weekend. The likes of Luke Loughlin, the likes of Jonathan Lynham, they do have some very good players there. Obviously, Ronan Wallace from halfback as well as an absolute two-pointer scoring machine as well. Like, they do have some good players, Westmeath, but it's just these lapses in concentration in games. Like the game against Wicklow, they struggled against Wicklow in the last 5 minutes. Dean Heaney with a bit of a masterclass for Wicklow, they get over the line. The game against Wexford was almost a carbon copy. Sean Ryan, absolutely brilliant at getting the goals. But I know in the moment you'd say that was an excellent win for Wexford and it was an emotional moment and all that. But you have to look at Westmeath's standpoint as well. That was, for the last minute of the game, that was poor defensively. I think Mark McHugh would have looked at that and on the tapes and said, lads, that's not good enough. Like, you cannot concede a goal like that, especially in an important game like that in Division 3. I am going to stick with Westmeath to win it against Longford this weekend, but I think it'll be way tighter than people think. It could go to extra time.
Absolutely. This is a game that could go to extra time. And like you mentioned there, like, you look at the players that Westmeath have, your Luke Loughlin's, your Ronan Wallace's, your Breon Cooney's, like, they have some really talented players in their squad, and you would expect them to even be a team that could be competing potentially in Division 2. But like I was mentioned there, Aaron, and even in some of the comments as well, Westmeath at times can kind of, I suppose, not even blunder, but like, they could take their foot off the gas a small bit against lower division teams. They seem to raise their game for higher division teams. I remember them drawing with Tyrone a couple of years ago, only lost to Derry by, was it 4 points in 2024, which ended up being Derry's last win of any sorts for almost 2 years. But for Westmeath, not even just, I'd say, a win this weekend, but they've probably got to go out there on Sunday and actually put in a proper performance as well, and to show that what happened against Wexford is not a situation that's going to happen again this year, especially not under Mark McHugh's tenure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they'll want to build a bit of confidence before playing Meath as well, should they obviously come through Longford, because look, I think we would all expect Meath to win that game and everything else, but Westmeath will want to take something going into it, to be fair. And look, like, they have shown signs of improvements at times this year, Westmeath, under Mark McHugh. I think they have come on well, and they've had some big performers in the likes of Luke Loughlin and Ronan Wallace and a few others. But it is one of them, though. It is a real banana skin type game going away to Longford and everything else. Like, Longford are bang in form at the moment. They'll be absolutely buzzing. Like, there'll be nothing to lose, obviously, going into it. So there is the chance. There absolutely is the chance that Longford can do it. And as we said, like, Westmeath do have, so, you know, they've lost to Wicklow in back-to-back championship seasons, once in the Tailteann Cup and once in the Leinster Championship as well. So even the defeat to Wexford as well, like, you know, to kind of lose that at the death was maybe a little bit surprising from a Westmeath perspective a little bit. So they are probably quite vulnerable at the moment. But in saying that, still do think they have enough to come through Longford. But it is a real banana skin game.
Absolutely is. Yeah, I'm going to go with Westmeath to win this game, but I do agree with you both completely. It is very much a banana skin game for Westmeath, and they're going to have to be very, very careful going to Pearse Park on Sunday. The final game from the Football Championship this weekend, before we wrap it up and move on to the other coach, is Wicklow's trip to Carlow in Cúilín Park on Sunday. That's thrown in at 2:30 p.m. Aaron, I'll come back to you with this one. Carlow, I mean, a great story for Carlow winning in Croke Park a couple of weeks ago. The boost that would have given the county, especially the way that they beat Longford as well in the end. Having home advantage against Ushma McConville's side this weekend. It's a big game for both sides in two very contrasting ways.
Absolutely, yeah. And like one thing I will say as well, it's a bit disappointing that this game isn't being shown anywhere. Like obviously you do have the two Connacht games on GA Plus. I get shown New York, I get shown London. Obviously those teams never get shown on TV and everything else. But a little bit disappointing that the Leinster games aren't being shown anywhere from what I know. Anyway, I'm open to correction in regards to that. But yeah, because I actually do think this game will be the game of the weekend. I think when you look at both teams in Division 4, obviously Carlow getting promoted, Wicklow and Ushie McConville, like after that, maybe in a similar way to Westmeath losing out on promotion, like they will be raring to go in terms of this game, in terms of getting the victory. Carlow obviously having an outstanding season, and look, the winner of this obviously gets the honour of hosting Dublin in a couple of weeks, a game that I'll be hoping to go to. I'll be planning to go to. Obviously, if it's in Wicklow, it makes it a little bit trickier because Ockram is in the middle of nowhere, whereas Cúilín Park's obviously quite close to the town. But
as well.
Yeah, the truck's on the road as well. But hopefully we can all get what we want by then. Hopefully we'll be all good. But yeah, I don't know, by the way, in regards to that. I'm very unknowledgeable. But yeah, no, I do think Carlow will win the game, but I do think it will go to extra time. I think it'll be very, very close, back and forth. I think there'll be late drama. I think it'll be a very, very entertaining game. You look at some of the stars of the Carlow show in terms of Colm Hulton, who's been outstanding. Chris Blake, obviously, as well. And Wicklow can cause damage as well in terms of 2-pointers. They've got some very good players that can do that as well. So I think it'll be a cracking game, but I do think Carlow will edge it.
Yeah, I'm probably going to go Carlow as well. Just simply having home advantage, I think, is going to be key for them this weekend. Albeit, I would say, Matthew, after Wicklow, they were very unlucky not to get to a Tailteann Cup final last year, narrowly losing out to Limerick. Do you feel like Ushie McConville this year will want to try and kick on a small bit? And listen, if they could get themselves a clash against Dublin, I mean, the more the merrier, absolutely. And you saw them last year when they hosted Dublin in the Leinster Championship. It wasn't as easy for Dublin as maybe probably would have expected. But what do you expect from for this weekend? Do you expect Carlow to get the job done, or will we see an Ushie McConville masterclass?
Yeah, I expect Carlow to get the job done. It's kind of weird to say, actually, that Wicklow are the only Leinster side in Division 4 this year. There's a lot or next year, should I say, in 2027. There's a lot of, I would say, Leinster sides that are around the Division 3 area, Division 2 as well, which obviously Wexford, Louth, and the good old Dubs there. But like it's there's a lot of teams around that middle ground in Leinster, which makes it so very interesting indeed. And it's shocking to see Wicklow being at the bottom of the pile in many ways, because they do have some excellent players, the Oisin McGrainers, the Dean Healy's, the Kevin Quinns, the Mark Jacksons. Obviously, Ushie McConville's in charge of them. They reached the Tailteann Cup semi-final last year, so they are well capable of winning this game. But with Carlow winning the Division 4 title, now, if it was under the structure of last year, where the league finals were played a weekend before the championship began, I would have backed Wicklow for this game, because of Carlow, obviously, and being on the beer or celebrating or whatever. But the 2-week gap and Carlow at home, I think Carlow will get the job done in the end. I think Carlow will win this one. It will be tight, but I think Carlow will get it done with the likes of Chris Blake and obviously Doyle around the middle of the park, Conor Doyle. So they do have some good players, and they've won the Division 4 crown. The confidence will be there. I think Carlow will get the job done.
Absolutely. I like Peter's comment here. Division 3 next year is a mini Leinster. Absolutely. I think we should get like a pre-Leinster title or something like that if we were to win Division 3 next year. I think we should. I think that'd be a great thing to have. Carlow had an open evening there this week as well. Great to hear from them as well. Well, we've covered all of the Gaelic football games. We're going to move on to the hurling now. And the first bit of action that we'll have this weekend in terms of the highest codes is the Christy Ring. And some interesting games to look forward to this weekend. Of course, we have Meath that are taking on Kerry on Sunday. All these games, bar the Derry Roscommon game, throws in at 1 p.m. That game throws in at 3 p.m. And Donegal are playing Wicklow. Aaron, I'll come to you first. We probably expect Kerry to be the strongest team in the Christy Ring this year, alongside, ironically, probably Meath. You have Derry hosting Roscommon. You have Donegal against Wicklow. You probably expect Kerry to win this weekend. What are you expecting from the other two?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think you would expect Kerry to get over the line in regards to that. I think Donegal Roscommon's an interesting one. Like, it is two sides, obviously, that are familiar enough with each other from recent games and everything else. And obviously the Rossies will be vying for a bit of revenge after what happens towards the end of the league. So maybe we'll go with them. And then the other game you said, sorry?
Derry Roscommon and
Derry Roscommon. Yeah. You know, in regards to that, you'd probably go with Derry, to be fair.
And Donegal Wicklow as well. Sorry, I don't know if I said that.
Wicklow, yeah. That's another close one as well, to be fair. Probably Wicklow. I think I'd probably go with Wicklow.
Fair enough. Matthew, I'll come to you next with the next division, which is the Nickey Rackard Cup, which is kicking off on Saturday afternoon this week. We have Armagh are taking on Mayo, Tyrone versus Sligo, and Louth facing off against Fermanagh. Nickey Rackard this year, some 6 teams there that'll be gunning to absolutely win it. You have Mayo there, Sligo will be absolutely chomping at the bit to try and win it with the players like O'Kelly, Lynches, etc. Louth and Fermanagh. Louth, I know, have a couple of former Offaly hurlers that are involved with their panel at the moment as well, and I wish the best of luck to them, in particular Leon Fox and Conor Clancy. Armagh, Mayo, Tyrone, Sligo, Louth, Fermanagh, what are we thinking?
Yeah, some decent Nickey Rackard Cup games there. Just to mention on the Christy Ring, a very interesting fixture actually between Donegal and Wicklow. Both actually got to the Division 3 final. Wicklow beat Donegal twice in the league, obviously in the final and during the normal league season. But Wicklow scored 2 late goals through Shawnee Germain to win the game in the league final against Donegal. So those sides are very, very tight. I actually think Donegal will win against Wicklow this weekend. They're at home and they'd want to get revenge on that. I think Kerry will win, and probably Derry against Roscommon, despite the fact they got relegated from Division 2. Look at the Nickey Rackard. You look at the games this weekend, like Armagh and Mayo, both sides got relegated for the respective divisions. Armagh only managed 1 point in Division 3. Mayo competed at stages in Division 2. They only got a point against London. They still finished bottom though, but Mayo probably have stronger hurlers than Armagh do, and I think Mayo will get over the line. Tyrone against Sligo. Look, Sligo do have the momentum there with them. The likes of Andrew Kilcullen-Rees, he's an absolutely excellent hurler. Thomas Cawley there as well. O'Kelly Lynches are absolutely superb hurlers there as well. And they have serious momentum with the likes of Eastkeen with their wins over the last few years as well, including the Division 4 crown, which they sealed 2 weeks ago. I think Sligo will get the job done against Tyrone, a Tyrone team that were mid-table in Division 3. And then Louth against Fermanagh. Louth survived in Division 3. Fermanagh only got 1 point in Division 3, got relegated back to Division 4. I think Louth will get over the line, and Darren Gagan will be a main player for Louth there. So, yeah, I think Louth, Sligo, and Mayo will get over the line.
Good stuff. The other competition, finally, in the hurling perspective, that's going to be kicking off this weekend are the Lowry Maher games. And these games, like I mentioned, 2 of them are thrown in at 1 p.m. and the other one is throwing in at 3 p.m. The 2 1 o'clock games are Cavan versus Warwickshire and Longford taking on Lancashire. And the 3 o'clock game is the clash between Leitrim and Monaghan. I suppose, Aaron, Cavan last year, very unlucky not to win the competition, and especially after New York coming in, there was a lot of controversy around that. Cavan probably still haven't forgiven them for that, to be honest with you. But looking at it this season, Cavan, you probably see them as probably the favourites or the strongest team, albeit Longford and Leitrim had very positive league campaigns as well. But you probably expect Cavan to get off to a good start this weekend. Leitrim against Monaghan, disappointing enough league campaign. And again, Longford you probably expect to win this weekend as well. Would you disagree?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I think you would expect Cavan to get over the line versus Warwickshire, and they certainly are one of the favourites and everything else. Like, their league campaign probably hasn't gone as well as maybe what you would have expected. Longford have had a very solid season as well, so I think Longford are definitely a team kind of coming in, and they'll have the opportunity to maybe take the trophy if Cavan maybe aren't up for grabs. But yeah, you'd imagine Longford beat Lancashire, Cavan beat Warwickshire. Leitrim Monaghan's an interesting one as well, but as you said, Leitrim probably in a little bit better form maybe than Monaghan at the moment. So you'd give Leitrim the edge there. And obviously it is a big chance for either one of those two teams to get 2 points on the board and give themselves an opportunity going into the further rounds.
Absolutely. So, well, we'll have the Joe McDonagh and the start of both the Leinster and Munster Championship coming up next weekend, and we'll have our preview for that out next week as well. So stay tuned all for that to hear the fact that Offaly are bringing Liam home in 2026. Says no one this year, but we'll move on anyways. We're going to move on to the LGFA, and we have some cracking finals to look forward to this weekend. We're going to first of all look at the Division 1 final that's taking place on Saturday evening between Matthew's Cork against Galway. And I'll go to yourself, Matthew, first with this one. It's been a fantastic league campaign for Cork, getting themselves to this stage of the season, having some big wins along the way as well. I mean, the one that probably stood out was the fact that they went to Kerry and beat them by double digits. I'd say you're still probably over the moon about that one. But this is going to be a very tightly contested game this weekend. Interestingly, it was the Division 2 final last year, and now it's the Division 1 final. I mean, absolutely remarkable progress from both teams. But can we see Cork lifting the national silverware this weekend, or will Galway stop them in their tracks?
Interestingly, the footballers lost to Meath, the men's footballers that is, and the hurlers lost to Limerick. So the league finals haven't gone particularly well so far for Cork after a decent enough league stage campaign. But like, this Cork LGFA team have shocked, I would say, many. Have they shocked themselves? Probably not. They have some brilliant players, and obviously Joe Carroll said to the media at the start of the season that they wanted to stay up. That was their aim at the start of the Division 1 campaign. I think the players in-house might have believed in themselves that they get to the league final. I don't think anybody in the outside would have expected that, even myself or anybody from Cork would have expected them to get to the league final. But they have done. Like, it's a brilliant campaign so far. Katie Quirk, their top scorer, with 3 goals and 34 points. Annie Terry with 2 goals and 8 points there as well. Aoife Healy and Amy Corcoran will be absolutely brilliant players this weekend as well from Cork's standpoint. Of course, their captain, Emma Cleary, there as well. They've won 5 games out of 7, Cork, in this league campaign, but they've only averaged a winning margin of 1 point, which kind of is a concern. They've only conceded less than 2 goals in 2 of their games so far against Armagh and Kerry. So they concede a lot of goals, I would say, Cork. And when you have, from the Galway perspective, you have Leanne Cohen and you have Andrea Trill, who are absolutely brilliant at goal scoring. It's going to be difficult for Cork to keep them out in terms of the goals. But like, Cork, I'd imagine Joe Carroll would want to get his matchups right on who's going to go on Andrea Trill and who's going to go on Leanne Cohen. You've Melissa Duggan back there, a very experienced player. I think Breed Stack described her on the Star Sport podcast recently as a little terrier, which I think Melissa Melissa's an absolutely brilliant player, cornerback. Maura O'Callaghan in midfield. I think Rosie Corkery has really done well in the league. Sight McGoldrick at centre back. So they have done well, Cork, in the league stage so far. They were beaten in their first 6 games. They did lose to Dublin in the last game, but context is very, very important. Cork were already in the league final at that point, whereas Dublin had something to play for in terms of trying to stay up. Ultimately, they didn't do so, but Dublin had something to play for in that game against Cork. But Galway seemed like a very good side. And this is despite the fact Galway lost to Cork in the game at Páirc Uí Rinn in the league stage. So Galway will have revenge on their minds, obviously, but at the same time, Galway did beat Cork in the league final in Croke Park last year, Division 2, as you mentioned there, Liam. But Cork did get the upper hand in the league stage this year. So it'll be interesting. This is kind of round 3. It'll be very interesting to see who gets out on top in this one. Galway have been very impressive in this league campaign so far. Similarly to Cork, they did lose that last game to Waterford, but again, context, Galway were already in the league final by then. They did lose that 1 game, and that was to Cork, but they beat Meath quite comfortably. They beat Kildare comfortably. Armagh, with the goals they got comfortably enough. Kerry by 2 points. Dublin, it was comfortable enough as well. So Galway have beaten their opposition more comfortably than Cork have. But what's encouraging from a Cork point of view is they've won the games with tight margins. They know how to get over the line in tight games, and that is a positive for Joe Carroll and his team. Obviously, they do have to watch the likes of Leanne Cohen, Kate Slevin, Andrea Trill, Roisin Leonard. Obviously, Olivia Divley, she's lower down the scoring chart, but there's a reason for that, obviously, with her exploits with Clonturn Clonburn in the club championship. So, and they've come back during the league as well. So, look, Galway, I've said it from the start of the year, Galway are all-Ireland contenders. They're probably the all-Ireland favourites when you look at the whole whole perspective of the All-Ireland Championship. And when you look at the All-Ireland semi-finals from last year, Kerry, Meath, Dublin, they've all struggled in the league. Galway are the only ones to really do well and be in the top half. And they've carried on the form from last year to this year. It's a really tough one to call. I'm going to back Cork. I'm going to back them by a point. It's going to be tight, but I think the know-how in winning tight games will stand the Cork in this league final.
Fair enough, absolutely. No, and you're absolutely right. Cork have been able to get themselves over the line in these type of games this season, and it's been a real positive feature of their game that they've been able to add during this campaign. And like you mentioned there, Matthew, I'll go to you next, Aaron. The players that Galway obviously have and the forward line that they have is going to be probably the big challenge for this Cork side. Like you mentioned earlier, Ian Cullen, Roisin Leonard, Kate Thompson, Kate Slevin, Andrea Trill. I mean, it's just an absolute Aoife O'Rourke. I mean, it's just a top class forward line in general. No matter where you could even put them all. You could put the full forward line, the half forward line, and mix it around, and wouldn't make that much of a difference. They still be very much on the ball. But going into this weekend, like Matthew mentioned there, Galway are a team this year that absolutely want to win the All Ireland. Probably feel they were unlucky not to beat Dublin last year in the semi final. I can imagine for them getting themselves a piece of national silverware. I can imagine that Daniel Moynihan will be absolutely gritting at the teeth to try and get themselves a national title this weekend. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, like I think it's huge for Galway. I don't think they've ever won the league. Correct me if I'm wrong in regards to that, but so it'd be absolutely huge from a Galway perspective to get over the line and win a league title for the first time in their history. They have been building towards it, obviously, over the last couple of seasons, in particular their performances, you said, versus Dublin, some of their performances in the league as well. So far this season, like Cork have been a big surprise. I think a lot of us had Cork to go down at the start of the season, but I think at this stage, to be honest, like I'd probably nearly back Galway. I think they're coming in with a little bit better form. I do think they've the better players as well. I know you would say that Cork do maybe have the know-how of winning these games, but I do think Galway's will be that little bit more as well, in terms of the bigger picture. So yeah, I go for Galway, probably by 1 or 2.
So we're not agreeing on everything tonight, anyway. This is gonna be. See, I feel like Galway probably are the strongest team in Division 1, but Matthew did make the good point that Cork have made great progress this year, and they have managed to get themselves over the line in very clear-cut, very narrow games. And I mean, they went to Kerry and bet them by 8 points, which for me was I know Kerry have struggled at home this year during the league campaign, but still very, very impressive. Matthew, I'm sorry, I'm going to go with Galway to win it in the end. I just think their forward line is extremely strong, and I think if they catch fire, they'll be very, very hard stopped. But at the same time, it won't be a hammering or anything. I think Galway might win it by 2 points, but I think it'll still give Cork a big boost going into the championship campaign, which they absolutely will be in the hunt for, Munster and potentially maybe later. So you never know. Maybe the rise of the rising of Offaly, Cork ladies football will come again, and maybe Cork will be winning the All Ireland title in a couple of months' time. We'll just have to wait and see. We're going to move on to the next LGFA final this weekend that's taking place in St. Tierney's Park in Clonus, which is the clash between Cavan and Donegal, the two top sides in Division 2. Aaron, I suppose Cavan had a very positive league campaign, winning 5, drawing 1 and losing 1, and albeit their last game that they lost, again, like Matthew mentioned with the Cork Dublin game, context is important. They put out very much a second string team against Westmeath. Westmeath, they got relegated in the end, but they didn't really have much to play for. I think they were relegated anyways before that game started. So it's probably important to look at that from that context. So they were unbeaten before going into that final game. Probably going to this weekend, potentially maybe as favourites, but Donegal, still a very, very strong side. Obviously, we're beating Ulster finalists last year as well. This would be a very, very tough one to call in the end, especially with it being in Clonus too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Cavan have probably surprised a lot of us really in their Division 2 season. I think a lot of us probably look towards Tyrone and Mayo, Donegal as the kind of teams at the forefront. But let's not forget, Cavan obviously beat Donegal as well in the league, so they have that kind of win over them. They have been in better form. Obviously, Donegal going to have to leave it towards the end of the campaign to get into the league final and everything else. But yeah, I do really like to look at this Cavan side. Like Donegal, maybe obviously their team has changed quite a bit over the last couple of seasons, but you would probably fancy them a little bit more so in regards to that. But to be honest with you, like with the form that Cavan have showed, some of the results they've gotten, the win obviously versus Donegal that I mentioned as well. I think Cavan are going to do it.
I'm actually starting to kind of agree with you. I saw Cavan last year when they did play Westmeath in a much more important game in the All-Ireland Intermediate quarterfinal. I have to say I was impressed with a lot of their players. I will admit that. And I liked the way that they played football. And it's obviously carried on into this season. And like you mentioned there, probably have surprised a lot of us this year when you mentioned the teams like Mayo and Tyrone especially, how they've kind of just not really fallen off, but like just had, tough enough league campaigns compared to Cavan. I'm actually going to back Cavan this weekend as well. I think it might actually win this game by 5 points. But it is a very, very tough one to call. Matthew, Cavan, Donegal, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, the thing is, I think Cavan have been doing well on attacking basis. Like they've averaged a score of 111 per game, whereas Donegal have averaged 109 per game. But Donegal's defence is very, very strong. Having looked at the results of the last 4 games in particular, their last 4 games, okay, they did lose to Cavan, but they conceded 1-6. Against Mayo, they conceded 8 points. Against Tipperary, they conceded 7. And against Wexford, they conceded just 3. But when you look at the games overall, 7 points to 1-6, 9 points to 8, 6 points to 7, and 11 points to 3. If you need sleep, watch the Donegal LGFA team. I will put it that way. Look at their scores. Look, they've done well to get to the final. I will say they have done well, but look at those score lines. Other than Suzanne White, Katie Dowd in particular as well with 2 goals and 9 points from play. They just don't have the same scoring power as the likes of Cavan. The likes of Ella Sheridan in particular with 125, Niamh Keenan 3-9, Ashley Sheridan, a really experienced player with 111 as well. The likes of Catherine Dolan are well capable of putting in a performance there from a Cavan point of view as well. So yeah, it's going to be a difficult ask for Donegal to win this game. But if Donegal can recapture their form in the first 3 games, where they scored 2-11 against Westmeath, 2-10 against Monaghan, and 3-9 against Tyrone, where they had that free-flowing attacking football style of play, I think they might actually have a chance this weekend because, like, they're going with nothing to lose. They're let off the leash then. So, like, I think Donegal kind of need to go back to that. But like the way they were playing, actually, they lost in those 4 games. They lost 2 of them against Cavan and Tipperary. And the game against Mayo was a point. Okay, they beat Wexford, but Wexford finished bottom of Division 2. So is this defensive structure working for Donegal? I'm not sure. So for that reason, I'm going to go for Cavan to win this game. I think the likes of Niamh Keenan and Ella Sheridan and Ashley Sheridan will really shine, and I think Cavan will get over the line.
When you're describing need sleep and everything like that, I just pictured Arsenal, to be honest with you, and the defence and everything like that. So, but no, I do agree. I think Cavan are going to win this weekend, but like you mentioned there, Donegal, they don't concede a lot, but at the same time, they don't score a lot. So, well, or at least they're not very pleasing on the eye when it comes to attack. So essentially, they are Arsenal men's team. So there's a great comparison. Moving on to the Division 3 final, Antrim taking on Louth this weekend. That game is taking place this Saturday in Crossmaglen. Another very interesting final to look forward to. Matthew, I'll throw this one back to you. Antrim versus Louth. What can we expect from this one?
Yeah, very interesting game. Both of them actually reached the division, the junior final last year, which Louth won narrowly. Like Antrim do have some good players, the likes of the Orkneys girls there as well, the likes of Marie O'Neill, who's got 7 goals and 23 points in the championship. Ciara Brown with 4 goals and 6, and Theresa Mellon with 2 goals and 11. Brona Devlin with 3-4. They do have a lot of goal scorers in their team, Antrim. They've scored 17 goals in the league, Antrim, so they are well capable of finding the back of the net. They've averaged 2-11 per game. The only game where, ironically, they didn't get a goal in was against Louth during the league, where they lost 15 points to 6. So like Antrim, it's kind of like Louth beat them in the junior final and they beat them in the Division 3 league phase this year. It's kind of like Antrim's kryptonite is Louth. They don't know how to beat them. They don't know how to get over the line against them. But then when you look at the other games that they played, they've scored, the lowest they've scored in any of those games is 2 goals and 8 points. They got 3 goals and 15 against Clare, 4 goals and 16 against Limerick, and 4 goals and 10 against Fermanagh. And that's a Fermanagh team that has the likes of Brenda Bannon, Emer Smith, Joanne Doonan, have some very good players. So like Antrim, when they turn it on, are a very, very good side. They're a very attacking side. But I will say Louth have been more consistent in this league campaign. They've won 6 games out of 7. The only game they lost was the last game against Laois when they were already in the league final. And even then, they only lost 9 points to 8. That game could have gone either way. They've averaged a winning margin of 5 points as well. Ciara Woods has done well with 4 goals and 4 points. Ciara Nolan with 1 goal and 7. Sophie Everett with 2 goals and 12. Emer Byrne with 3 goals and 11. Louth have done well attacking and defensively. They've only averaged a concession rate of 9 points. I think Louth will get over the line simply because I don't think Antrim have beaten Louth in a big game so far, the competitive game anyway. And I think Louth will continue their good form against the Saffrons.
Sorry, I forgot I was on mute there. Yeah, it should be a very interesting contest this weekend. We shall wait and see how that comes on Saturday. We're going to look at the final league final that's taking place this weekend. This one is taking place on Sunday between Carlow and Leitrim in St. Brendan's Park. Very, very fitting that the crowd that bet us gets to play in one of our home grounds in the final anyways. But in fairness to Carlow, when I did see them a couple weeks ago against Offaly in that Division 4 semi-final, I have to say I was really, really impressed with Carlow, the way they were moving the ball, their fitness levels and everything like that. Players like Sarah Jones, or Sarah Doyle, I should say, was really, her movement was absolutely sensational. Clean and Shea had a super game. Roisin Bailey, captain as well, was in super form as well. Aaron, Carlow versus Leitrim. Leitrim, obviously a team that intermediate champions a couple of seasons ago were playing up in the higher divisions last season. Probably shouldn't have been in Division 4 in the first place, really. But Carlow, Leitrim this weekend, going to be a close enough affair, I have to say. How do you see this one panning out?
Yeah, I probably would back Carlow. Like, they have won every game so far in Division 4, and they've been very impressive throughout some of the clips I've seen. So, yeah, I probably would back them to do it. Like Leitrim obviously have made great strides in recent seasons and everything else in terms of ladies football. But yeah, no, I do think Carlow will get over the line.
Yeah, I probably agree with you. I'm going to go with Carlow to win this one. Matthew, any disagreements?
I think Leitrim have won 7 games out of 8 in Division 4 so far. The only game they did lose was against Carlow, when the game probably didn't matter as much because there's semi-finals in Division 4. They only lost that game by 2 points as well. Carlow got 2-7, Leitrim got 11 points. Do I see Leitrim going goalless again? That was the only game they were goalless in their run to the final. I don't think so. They do have some good players. Myrne Devani, 7 goals and 15 points. Well, she probably has more 2 games they haven't recorded. But Kate Gormley, Leah Fox, Aoife Gilmartin, they have done well, and they have played senior before Leitrim. So I think they will have the experience. Look, if Leitrim keep an eye on Cleone or Cleone Shea, I'm actually not sure how to pronounce that correctly, but she's got 8 goals.
But I could be wrong in saying that.
Yeah, I think when Seamus was asking Roisin Bailey, she said Nickey, I think it was. So it's probably that to be here. So yeah, she's got 8 goals and 28 points in the league. Sarah Doyle has done well with 2 goals and 28 from play as well. And so is Ava Kiernan with 7 goals and 6 points. So I think Carlow have some key scores there. But I think with Leitrim losing the league game, I don't think they'll make the same mistake and lose the league final. I think Leitrim will get over the line.
Fair enough. Well, that is the ladies' football looked at for this weekend. 4 cracking finals to look forward to, and we'll see who's going to be celebrating come Sunday evening. We're going to finally move on and look at the final round of games that are taking place this weekend, the final round of league finals for the year. And we're going to be looking at the National Camogie League Finals this weekend. And the first one we're going to be looking at is the Division 1A final. That's in Nolan Park this weekend in the clash between Waterford and Galway. Aaron, Waterford and Galway, obviously... Galway, All-Ireland, reigning All-Ireland champions. Waterford, a team that are on the up, have some really, really good players in amongst their team as well. This has the makings for me as a really, really interesting final, and could be a game that we might see more than once this year, maybe 2 or 3 times this year, potentially. We'll have to wait and see. But what can we expect from these 2 sides this weekend?
Yeah, it should be a very interesting game, and I do agree with you as well. Yeah, I think when you look at the trajectory of these 2 teams over the last couple of seasons, obviously Galway winning the All-Ireland and Waterford have been knocking on the door of an All-Ireland for a good couple of seasons. Obviously got to the final against Cork a couple of years ago. Won 4 out of their 5 games. They've obviously been very impressive. Players like Lorraine Bray, Niamh Rocket have been very impressive from a Waterford perspective. And I think, I think this is a huge game for them to get silverware on the board, to take a scalp of one of the big teams. And if Galway don't win the All-Ireland, they'll certainly come very close. So I think it's a massive opportunity for Waterford to take a scalp and win the game. But look, Galway have the experience. We know they've big players. They've obviously been there and done it on many of an occasion, and obviously did it in the All-Ireland final last season. But I'd probably back Waterford to get over the line and do the job. I really like the look of them in certain games from what I've seen this season. And I think they're going to do it. I think they just have a little bit more firepower, a little bit more of an attacking threat. And I think they have been building towards it the last couple of seasons. So yeah, I think I'll back Waterford to win this.
Yeah, and I can remember when these two sides met each other earlier on the league campaign. I believe, wasn't this the game that happened just after Galway were stuck in America a couple of days beforehand? So obviously a bit of a tough old challenge for them on that occasion. But Waterford did win the first outing earlier on the league campaign in Athenry. And as you mentioned there, Matthew, when you have players like Sarah Lacey, Niamh Rockett, Beth Carton, you've Lorraine Bray as well in there. Waterford have a lot of firepower, but at the same time, so do Galway. You have Niamh Nyland, who's one of the best, in my opinion, one of the most talented corner forwards in the country. You've Aoife Donoghue, obviously, who everybody knows about, Niamh Mallon as well. Some top class players in there, and Carrie Dolan, the hero, the queen of Galway Camogie, really, after last year's All-Ireland success. This is going to be a very tight affair, has to be said. It could be a game that goes right down to the wire, and it could be an indicator for where both teams head into the championship season.
Yeah, as you mentioned there, Waterford do have some two key scorers there, Niamh Rockett and Beth Carton, 120 and 216 respectively. They do have some good players in those areas. Lorraine Bray at the middle of the park as well has done well, but you have others that are contributing, the likes of Emer O'Neill at wing forward, the likes of Roisin Kierman, Maggie Gostel, Leisha Forrest, Orla Hickey. So Waterford do have some good players in and around the team. Galway have the experience of the likes of Carrie Dolan, 125, Niamh Mallon, 113, Aoife Donoghue was 2 goals and 2 points there as well. So like Galway do have experience of winning. Ironically, they actually don't have experience of winning league titles. They've lost the last 2 league finals against Tipperary and Croke Park and Cork last year and Thurles. So like Galway are hoping to end a drought in many ways in terms of the league, but I don't think it'll be this weekend. I think Waterford will get over the line. They've been more impressive in the league. They've won all the games that they have that have mattered. Obviously, the Tipperary game, they did lose, but again, context, they were in the league final already before the ball was thrown in that game. So, yeah, I think Waterford will get the job done, and the want will be there in terms of getting a trophy on the board. Niamh Rockett has talked about it plenty of times in the media that Waterford wanted a trophy, like before the Munster final that didn't even get played last year because of the scorched shorts debacle. She was talking about Waterford being in provincial finals or national finals. It's important for them because they rarely do it. Like their All-Ireland final appearance was their first one since 1944. They rarely reach finals, and I think they want to make the most of it while they can, while they're on top form. I think Waterford will win this game, but slightly.
Yeah, I'm going to back Waterford to win this weekend as well. I like this Waterford team. I think they're on a steady rise as we currently speak. And yeah, I feel like their want to win this weekend might be just bigger than Galway's, considering Galway are recent All-Ireland champions. I don't think it'll be as big a deal to them as maybe Waterford, but obviously sets it up for a real cracking final, please God, this weekend. The next game we're going to be looking at is the Division 1B final, and Aaron, I'll come to you with this one. Your beloved Clare, God, definitely not. We've gotten to that stage of the evening, lads. Delusion hours coming in. Your beloved Dublin going up against Clare for the second weekend in a row, ironically in another Division 1B final, only this time. Probably like the men's, should have taken place in Nolan Park. It's taken part in Nolan Park this weekend. Again, a chance for Dublin to get a bit of revenge for the men last weekend, but probably more importantly from their perspective, a chance for them to get some national silverware as well. And unlike the men, I would probably say Dublin go into this game maybe as favourites. I could be wrong saying that. What's your own thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to know. Like, it was obviously a draw when they played each other in the league, and Clare have obviously been unbeaten in Division 1B. We've obviously had the one defeat. I'd definitely give us a fair chance. Like, I think players like Aisling Marr, Kerry Finnegan, Emma Flanagan have all been very impressive so far this season from a Dublin perspective. So definitely give us a serious chance. I wouldn't know too much about Clare, to be honest with you, when it comes to Camogie, more so about ourselves. But look, we obviously drew with them. They've been unbeaten in Division 1B as well, so they obviously are a very good side that we do need to take seriously. But look, I'll back ourselves to get over the line and get the win. I think we have been making great progress in Camogie in the last couple of seasons, and yeah, I think the county does need a bit of silverware as well. So yeah, I'll go with Dublin for the win.
Matthew, what's your own thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think Clare will win this final. They've done well. Obviously, they reached the All-Ireland quarter-final last year where they challenged Waterford all the way in Croke Park, and they do have serious firepower up front. The likes of Lorna McNamara, Ziad Spillane, Cuida Cal, all of them would have been involved in UL teams winning the Ashburn Cup. over the years, so they do have experience in winning national titles. Roisin Begley's a very good scorer for Clare as well, particularly from frees. Anya O'Loughlin is a good goal scorer. Andrea O'Keefe is a decent player there from a Clare point of view as well. And I think Clare, their experience in the quarterfinal last year will be absolutely vital for them to get over the line in this one. Look, Dublin have Ashley Mara, the Gallants as well, and Niamh and Aisling are very good players. Aisling O'Neill is a very good player as well. So is Niamh Comerford, Grace O'Shea. So look, I think Dublin will test them, but I think Clare will get over the line in the end because of their firepower, because of their experience of All-Ireland quarterfinals and Ashburn Cup wins.
Fair enough. Again, I don't like it when we disagree. I kind of like it when we all just agree. I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna be nice, Darren. I'll predict Dublin to win this weekend. And I know. I mean, Match. I feel like you won't be too disappointed here. I'm saying Clare will lose a game anyway. So,
would you say Cork would lose?
Oh God Almighty! I'm gone, lads. I need to go to bed. It's too late for me. Anyways, we're going to move on into the final two games of the weekend. Of course, we have the Division 2A final. I'm going to make sure I get the counties right this time. It's Kerry versus Meath. That is taking place in Banagher in County Offaly this Saturday at 3:30. The game's been shown on YouTube as well, which is fantastic to see, as it should be, to be honest, as it is being a national final. Matthew, I'll come back to you with this one. Obviously, you have Kerry in this final this weekend. I would probably say going into this game as the favourites. They are a team that were beaten in an All-Ireland intermediate final last year. Could easily have won it, even though it was, look, I know we won it, but it was not exactly a great game of camogie. But when you've got players like Jackie Horgan, when you've got players like Kate Lynch, when you've got players like Patrice Diggin, I mean, you'd probably expect Kerry to win this weekend, but Meath would certainly give it a good rattle.
Yeah, Kerry have a lot of firepower up front, I would say, in terms of their players like Patrice Diggin has 37 points in the league, Amy O'Sullivan has 3 goals and 6, Jackie Horgan has 2 goals and 6 as well. So they do have real firepower up front. And as well as that, Kerry LGFA player Daniel O'Leary is in their ranks as well, up in the forwards. Like, if she is a very good camogie player as well, and she does have that inter-county winning experience as well. Luke Mead will give it a right good go. Roisin Heaney's their top scorer with 20 points. Emma Regan has 2 goals and 12. Ciara Foley, 2 goals and 4. Olivia O'Halloran is a good player for Mead as well. But with that experience in the intermediate final and the amount of firepower that they do have up front, I think Kerry would want to show their promise and win this Division 2A title.
Absolutely. I think Kerry will win this weekend as well. Aaron, I'll go to you with the final game of the weekend that we're looking forward to is the clash between Armagh and Roscommon that's taking place in Abbottstown on Saturday at 2 p.m. Also being shown on the Camogie YouTube channel in Division 3A. A repeat of last year's All-Ireland intermediate junior semi-final, I should say. Armagh winning that game 2-17-1-8 in the end. Again, Armagh, they fell off in the All-Ireland final last year in the second half against Laois, but they do have some really good players in their team, the likes of Rachel Mary, the likes of Niamh Forker, the likes of Karina Doyle, so they have some very good firepower up front. Roscommon, some very good players as well, but Armagh probably going into this game as the stronger of the two sides. I'd probably back them to win this game. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think so. Like, just from looking at it there, like, they've won 4 from 4, whereas Roscommon have won 2 and lost 2, I believe. So, yeah, you probably would back Armagh on the basis of that, given recent seasons, as you said, as well, and the kind of growth of Armagh camogie. So yeah, I'll back Armagh to get the job done.
Good stuff, good stuff. Well, we've reached the end of another preview session here on Cúilín Media. My thanks to Matthew and Aaron for jumping on this evening, and thanks to everybody who has interacted with us as always, to the usual guests and to anyone who might have been tuning in for the very first time. We appreciate it. Be sure to check out the lads on social media as well as Cúilín Media on all of our social media platforms as well, and subscribe to the channel while you're at it. We did have the football preview that was put out yesterday on the channel, so make sure you go and watch that and either enjoy or laugh at our predictions, whatever way you want. We will have the hurling predictions out next week. We do have the start of the hurling championship next weekend, but for this weekend, main sole focus would be on the football championships from the men's perspective, as well as the LGFA and Camogie League Finals and the start of the lower divisions in the hurling championship. Thanks to everyone who has tuned in. Enjoy the games at the weekend. Until then, chat to you soon. Follow your instinct, baby.